In the world of politics, few figures have been as polarizing, as ambitious, or as controversial as Donald Trump. From the skyscrapers of New York to the halls of the White House, his rise to power shocked the world. But with bold promises came fierce opposition, and with power came profound consequences. Join us as we explore the rise, fall, and lasting legacy of the man who forever changed the course of American history and global politics. The unexpected rise to power. Donald Trump's rise to political prominence was one of the most unexpected events in modern American history. Born into wealth and raised as a business heir, Trump had already achieved considerable fame through his real estate empire and as the host of the reality TV show The Apprentice. However, it was his foray into politics that would truly define him. In 2015, Trump announced his candidacy for president as a Republican, positioning himself as an outsider who would drain the swamp of Washington, D.C. His unconventional campaign style, which included bold, often inflammatory rhetoric, quickly attracted attention. Many dismissed him as a joke, believing his lack of political experience would hinder his chances. Yet Trump's brash, unapologetic approach resonated deeply with voters who were frustrated with the political establishment. His promises of economic reform, job creation, and a tougher stance on immigration appealed to millions, particularly those in the Rust Belt and rural America. His slogan, "Make America Great Again," became a rallying cry for a significant portion of the electorate, leading to a stunning victory over Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. Trump's rise symbolized a major shift in American politics, one where traditional political norms were disregarded in favor of a more populist, anti-establishment approach. Campaign and leadership style. Trump's campaign was as unorthodox as his rise to power. He didn't follow the traditional rules of political discourse, relying heavily on social media, particularly Twitter, to communicate directly with his supporters and bypass the media. His speeches were often marked by brash language, attacks on political elites, and promises to return power to the people. His ability to dominate news cycles, regardless of the controversy, allowed him to remain in the public eye constantly. His leadership style in the campaign was bold and unapologetic, with little regard for political correctness. Trump's bluntness became a core part of his appeal to many voters who were tired of establishment politicians who seemed out of touch. His populist message, focused on economic nationalism, resonated with millions of working-class Americans who felt left behind by globalization and immigration policies. Trump's rhetoric was a double-edged sword, however. While it galvanized his base, it also alienated many, sparking protests and widespread criticism. Despite the divisiveness, Trump's leadership style was undeniably effective in mobilizing a large, passionate base of supporters, and his anti-establishment message would continue to define his political career. Presidency and controversial policies. Upon taking office in January 2017, Trump quickly moved to implement the promises he made on the campaign trail. His presidency was marked by a series of bold and often controversial actions, which sparked heated debates across the political spectrum. Perhaps the most significant early move was his decision to withdraw the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement, signaling his skepticism toward international climate change efforts. He also sought to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, a promise that would dominate his administration's immigration policies. Trump's America First agenda drove his foreign policy, characterized by withdrawing from multilateral agreements and renegotiating trade deals, most notably replacing NAFTA with the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Domestically, he pushed for massive tax cuts, primarily benefiting corporations and the wealthiest Americans. His administration also saw a significant rollback of environmental regulations. While his supporters praised these actions as necessary for American sovereignty and economic growth, critics argued that they disproportionately benefited the rich and endangered the environment. His approach to governance was direct, often combative, and dismissed traditional norms of diplomacy and decorum, which kept him in the headlines but also alienated much of the global community. Impeachment and crisis management. Trump's presidency was fraught with controversies that frequently made headlines. The most significant of these was the impeachment proceedings that took place in 2019. Trump became the third U.S. president in history to be impeached after the House of Representatives charged him with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress over a phone call with Ukraine's president, where Trump allegedly sought political favors for his 2020 campaign. The impeachment divided the nation, with Democrats pushing for his removal from office and Republicans largely defending him. In the Senate, Trump was acquitted, but the episode underscored the polarized state of American politics. Another crisis during his presidency was the global COVID-19 pandemic, which began in early 2020. Trump's response to the pandemic was widely criticized for downplaying the severity of the virus, initially claiming it would soon disappear. His handling of the crisis, alongside a strained healthcare system and mixed messages from his administration, further deepened public distrust. Trump's leadership style was called into question, as critics accused him of failing to provide clear guidance in leadership during one of the most serious public health emergencies in history. The pandemic became a defining moment of his presidency, exacerbating political divisions and affecting the nation's economy and healthcare system. The fall, election defeat, and Capitol insurrection. In the 2020 election, Donald Trump faced off against former Vice President Joe Biden. Despite his efforts to secure a second term, the election results showed a clear victory for Biden, both in the popular vote and in the Electoral College. However, Trump and many of his supporters refused to accept the outcome, falsely claiming widespread voter fraud. The situation escalated when, on January 6, 2021, Trump's supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to overturn the election results. The attack left the nation in shock and led to further scrutiny of Trump's role in inciting the violence. The Capitol insurrection marked the culmination of a presidency defined by controversy and division. In the aftermath, Trump was impeached for a second time, making him the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice. Despite his defeat, Trump's influence remained strong within the Republican Party, and his loyal base of supporters continued to champion his message. The fall of his presidency represented not only a political defeat, but a profound moment in American democracy, raising critical questions about the stability of institutions and the future of political discourse in the country. Legacy and lasting influence. Donald Trump's legacy is one of the most debated in modern American history. His presidency fundamentally altered the political landscape, with effects that are still felt today. His unorthodox leadership style and disregard for political norms shifted the Republican Party to the right, creating a populist movement that continues to shape American politics. Trump's impact can be seen in the way his supporters view him not just as a politician, but as a cultural symbol, a figure who challenged the elites and took on the establishment. His tenure reshaped the political discourse, pushing issues like immigration, economic nationalism, and America First policies to the forefront of national debates. On the other hand, his critics argue that his presidency deepened divisions within the country, undermined democratic institutions, and normalized behaviors that were once considered unthinkable for a sitting president. Trump's influence is not limited to his time in office. He remains a central figure in U.S. politics, and his legacy will continue to shape future elections, policies, and political ideologies. Whether viewed as a hero or a villain, Donald Trump's impact on American politics and global relations is undeniable, and his story will be studied and debated for generations to come. As history continues to unfold, Donald Trump's impact remains a powerful force in American politics. His presidency may have ended, but the ripples of his actions are felt across the nation, with his supporters steadfast and his critics unwavering. Love him or loathe him, Donald Trump's story is one of ambition, controversy, and unmatched influence. His legacy, both celebrated and contested, will continue to shape the political landscape for generations to come. The question is, how will history truly remember him?